Well, hello. Welcome to the Tower Coffee Hour. In this version of Mueller Governance, where we look at the mixed-use board meeting from February of 2026. It was a fairly short meeting. There were some comments early on about the dog park, both for and against. And then Tricia McKinnon, the executive director of CoHere, gave a great rundown of what's been happening in the neighborhood. It's worth listening to find out what's really going on in your neighborhood. So let's go give a listen to the mixed-use board meeting from February of 2026.
Ready?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. At this time, we'll begin the member forum, and I will call your name in the order listed on the sign-in sheet. Please remember that each speaker has 3 minutes with a total of 20 minutes allotted for the forum. And we ask that all comments remain respectful and concise. We normally start with agenda items, but since we do not have agenda items at this time, we will start with the non-agenda items. And our first speaker is Cooper Myers.
Hi, so my name is Cooper. I am a machine learning engineer by job. So I created a walking distance map for the entire Mueller neighborhood. This is the existing dog run right here. Green represents less than a 15-minute walk to get to the park. Yellow represents between 15 to 20 minutes. Orange represents between 20 to 25 minutes. And this is for like a healthy individual. So if you are not like a fit individual, it may take longer, right? So one of the proposed locations is the Northwestern Greenway. You can see it's at the end of Philomena Street. That's where the city has as the proposed location. And this border here represents all of the homes and row homes within Mueller. You can see that there's only a small corner close to the downtown that is able to get there within 15 minutes or less. Purple represents over 30 minutes. And I live in the purple area with 2 dogs, so I would just be unable to walk to the proposed location. This is the proposed southeastern Greenway location. You can see the majority of the homes and row homes, you're able to walk to that location within 15 minutes or less. And the remaining area in yellow, a lot of those homes are close to the dog run as an alternative. So the next one's Zach Scott Park. It's very close to the southeastern Greenway, but the benefit of it is that there's no issues when it comes to the waterways. There's some people in the community that are concerned about the birds, and the Zach Scott location, it is nearby, but it's not close to the waterways. It's also slightly closer to the community, and that area is currently owned by the city and is like being transferred to Mueller. And the city is okay with building a park here if the board approves it. So I think this is the best location in my opinion because it covers the most area of Mueller. And then this last chart shows which area is closer for the residents. So if you're living in this yellow region, then the Zach Scott Park is closer, and the other one's in Northwestern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Mark Akers.
So I'm just, this is, a very packed community and with a lot of dogs. And, we have to find a compromise to what's going on, My dogs want to play. I also don't want my dogs to interact with a dog that doesn't. That's the bottom line. That's what we have to solve, right? The threats of violence coming from people against the dog park, threats of pepper spraying people's dogs, that's scary. That belongs, if you want to fight them, that belongs in Travis Heights. This isn't what Mueller is, So I would love to have like the Zach Scott area, which is at the end of Tom Mueller and Zach Scott. You know, there's that big curved wall that has the power transformers there. There's a natural wall on one side, so it's easy to fence in. And it's a nice big space, not near any water, and there's parking all around it, and make it, you know, mixed use. You know, like I don't think that a dog park needs to have 4 huge fences or anything like that. Just keep the dogs from running in the street or running up to other dogs that are trying to just walk around. You know, I think that there's an easy compromise if we just, you know, think about it. You know, I don't think that blocking off a whole park for a dog park is the answer. I also think having nothing is not an answer either. We need to somehow meet in the middle, you know. So I kind of wish we would have another, I kind of felt like the working group was a little slanted, and the final vote, people voted against that weren't even in the working group, you know. So I kind of feel like the results of the working group, A, the poll wasn't published very well, and B, it wasn't as transparent like the pool group is, you know what I mean? So I kind of wish we had another shot at that. And maybe make it more open, not a closed group or something like that, so more people have more input, you know. But I think that's something that we just need to continue to work towards a compromise or something like that, you know. And no threats of suing or something like that. Let's find a way to all live together, I think that's what Mueller is living together. So, anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine Linga.
Hey y'all, thanks for having me. I'm here today as a member of the Southeast Greenway Alliance. Our mission is to protect and preserve the endangered blackland prairie, habitat and wildlife in the Southeast Greenway, which is home to over 200 species of birds. One reason that I became involved with the Southeast Greenway is to offer my support to the neighbors who had voiced their concerns about the proposed dog park and faced and continue to face harassment and vandalism of their property. They've had to install extra cameras. Some of their vehicles have been damaged, all because they have advocated for keeping the Southeast Greenway multi-use and not having an off-leash dog park there. As a 12-year-old Marshall Middle School student who is a birder shared with me recently, every other part of Mueller has off-leash dogs. Can we keep one place safe for the birds? I would like to offer a short list of considerations for the board to consider regarding the proposed dog park. 1, the Southeast Greenway was already considered and studied and was not approved by the POA. It should not be considered a second time, no matter who is paying or financing it. 2, any location that is discussed, we would like to see the environmental study that is done of the area being considered. None was ever provided for the Southeast Greenway, which is a Travis Audubon hotspot, birding area and parking area for birdability, which provides education and accessible guided birding tours for people who use wheelchairs or have limited mobility. The Southeast Greenway is one of only 8 accessible trails in all of Austin. So the Travis Audubon, along with the Southeast Greenway Alliance, does not support off-leash dog park in the Southeast Greenway or that would compromise parking. There are many off-leash dog areas that already exist less than 3 miles from Mueller. Little Walnut Creek, Greenbelt Dog Park, Triangle Commons Neighborhood Dog Park, Walden Bark Park, the Grove Dog Park, which is being built now. We have a dog run here. I know that it's small, but it is something. There's also a dog park social club less than 4 miles away. We don't need to sacrifice our shared use corridors to build another dog park in East and Central Austin. And finally, there were 3 off-leash dog park pilot programs installed in 2025. None of them were approved. One of the main reasons was that they did not reduce the frequency of off-leash dogs outside of the designated dog park, and therefore were not used to their full extent. These trials were at Circle C, Longview Park, Little Zilker Park, Neighborhood Park, and Also a discussion to put a doula at Patterson Park, but after talks and pushback from neighbors, PARD said that they should not place a doula at that neighborhood park.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Robin Sullivan.
Okay, so little disclaimer, part of this is written by co-pilot, so I don't know, hopefully you won't be able to tell that. So I just want to say, my name is Robin, and myself and my dog Dixie moved to Mueller community about a year ago, and can I read the rest? When we moved to a high-density community, we hoped we'd find a sense of connection, and for us that happened through the informal group of neighbors who gather with their dogs every evening. What started as a simple routine quickly became something meaningful. I met people I never thought I would met, otherwise new residents, longtime residents, young families, older adults. These nightly meetups created a real friendship and sense of belonging, and this made the neighborhood feel like home. Right now, we're using spaces that are, I guess, not designed for dogs. Everyone's doing their best to be respectful, but without a designated area, there's more potential for conflict with landscaping, non-dog owners, and even between dogs. Dog park would give us a safe, contained, predictable space, and it would reduce off-leash issues, protect common areas, and give everyone clarity about where dogs should be. And this isn't just a dog owner amenity. Dog parks considerably rank among the most requested features in modern communities because they create daily organic social interaction and they help residents feel connected.
Thank you.
And Merrill from Mary.
Hi, I'm Ann Meredith, Austin resident of 61 years. I live in Windsor Park, and I'm also in support of the Zach Scott Dog Park. It's important to me not only because of access for our dogs, but as Robin mentioned, the community there is very welcoming, and we have friends that, we've made friends that I think are going to be lifelong. That's a huge part of it, and I think, as she mentioned also, a lot of us come because of the friendships that we've developed and the friendships that our dogs have developed. There aren't any other parks off-leash dog parks comparable in size to the one at Zach Scott in Windsor Park where I live, so I drive every day to this park. Please support two pilot projects, the northeast and the northwest and southeast corners, to help support dogs and the community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's everyone.
All right. Thank you all for your comments. We'll now formally call the meeting of the Mixed Use Board of Directors to order. And we'll note for the record that a quorum of board members are now present. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from our October 13th meeting. And I believe the next step is we have to ask for a motion to discuss. Is that correct? It's a little
Or
bit.
just a motion to accept, and then we can discuss
Okay.
whether or not to accept.
Thank you.
I second it.
You made a motion to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All righty. Discussion. Any comments or questions regarding the minutes from that October meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm concerned that there's some ambiguity in the new business section about the very issue of the dog park working group. And my recollection was there was a motion to accept the report. It was discussed, and then it was determined that we would table the report, and thereby, because right now it's sort of in this, the way it's written, it's in this kind of parliamentary limbo right now. It's hard to explain where we actually are in the process of the dog park. But I mean, I'm just going on my memory, and but it was tabled pending discussions by the management with RVI, Jim Adams, subject matter experts. Does anyone?
Well, as the person who ended up summarizing the motion last time, I thought, I looked over the meeting minutes before coming over here. I thought it was accurate. It says here, Brian Delisle motion to not recommend advancing the, to not recommend advancing the recommendation of the master board at this time, pending the following information. And where we were asking staff to come back with more information. So we weren't opposing the recommendation, we were just opposing sending it to the master board until we had more information from
Okay.
from staff.
Yeah, isn't that in effect tabling the motion?
Temporarily,
Yeah.
and that's what I think at this time is there, but if you want to make a modification to the minutes, I don't mind, I just wanted to clarify what the original motion was.
So that the decision was not to take action at that time
Right.
pending additional information,
Yeah.
which is in the works.
Okay. So, yeah, I would just say that Brian Delisle moved to table the motion pending the following information. That would be my only,
Well, Brian, you made the motion, is that it?
It's fine with me.
okay.
Board members, any other comments regarding the question Tim raised? If there are no other comments, is there a motion to approve the minutes with the edit?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Can
Can you say the edit again?
Let's see, in this looks like about the third or fourth sentence. Following discussion, Brian Delisle moved to table the motion pending recommendation advancing the recommendation to the master board, blah, blah, blah. So just the insert, delete move to not, and then insert move to table the pending.
Everything clear? All righty. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Hearing none, those in favor of approving the minutes from the October 13 meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? The minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the executive director's update, and there are several topics we want to cover in this, our first meeting of the year.
Hello, good evening. It feels like it's been forever since we've been at a meeting together, so it is nice to see so many people here. Apparently you all have missed it as much as us. Tonight I would like to get started with talking about some things that we discussed recently at an orientation for the boards and committees, but wanted to highlight some of those for folks again. Thank you. So first is, what is the Mixed Use Board's authority and how does it relate to the Master Board? Talking about their governing authority for the Mixed Use Board, it comes directly from our governing documents. The board is responsible for overseeing all mixed use operations. And has the full authority to vote on actions and take binding actions on matters specific to the mixed-use board. But this does not govern, they do not govern or control the master board associations. By having this separation, it ensures that each one can focus on their appropriate scope of responsibilities. However, the Mixed Use Board does coordinate with the Master Board in the things that they do to make sure that they align. And when issues affect shared interests or the overall community, the Mixed Use Board can provide input and recommendations to the Master Association. However, that role is advisory rather than controlling. some of the things that we look for in our directors are somewhere on the next slide. There we go. Technology. So these are some of the characteristics that we look for. One of the big ones that I want to pull, just highlight real quick, is what makes one of a strong director is committed to do what is best in the interest of the community. If you'll notice, on the contrary to that, it which makes a director not ideal is somebody that puts their own interests above the community. So two quick things I wanted to point out. There's a couple other interesting points up here that I'm sure if you can look at them, you might gravitate to one side or another, what kind of stands out to you. Thank you. Our 2026 strategic work plan, I wanted to go over that for just a moment and highlight what that looks like for 2026. We have a lot of issues happening in the row home, and some of those are highlighted here. We're looking at the insurance review and structure, repairs and maintenance, landscape rehabilitation, and then having a proactive maintenance inspection schedule. For our landscaping and grounds, we have a landscape transition plan. We have an asset documentation plan that we're looking into, which would, similar to a GIS, that would capture everything. And then, of course, our courtyard rehabilitations. As you're aware, we are in our transition time period from the developer to the resident-led community, and so part of that is our governance and transitioning plan, and then finally customer service and communication. I did want to highlight also our community recommendation policy. This is what happens, the policy that we'd like the community to follow when an idea or if they have a special interest that comes up that they are passionate about. It can't get back. I don't know why it's not in presentation mode. Sorry. But anyways, this policy that we have is to help shepherd some of these ideas forward. We ask that there's some thought and some intent that's put behind it. Recently, we had a request that was submitted from a special working group to explore options for providing pool access to Mueller residents who live in affordable apartment communities that do not have on-site pools and are currently required to pay a daily fee to use the Mueller pools. So using this policy process, we received that request in. And what happens in the next step, then we review that to make sure that it aligns with the community need, with our budget. Does it match what our strategic plan is? And how does it overall align with the community? Once that is reviewed, then feedback is provided, and if it is something that the boards would like to consider, then that is given to the committee or the person or the group that wants to see this idea come forward. And that is defined with next steps, responsibilities, timelines, things like that. One thing that is important to remember, though, is that sometimes that feedback is not as fast as somebody might like. Sometimes these meetings or the review has to coordinate. So we have to have board meetings, for example, and sometimes if you submit it too soon or too late, you have to wait to the following month. But don't worry, we're working in the background on these requests, so we're always talking about them. Sometimes just not in public. The next is our CIP project update. So this are the big projects that were talked about during our budget time last year and that the community agreed to, that these were projects that they wanted to see improvements to. So this is a quick update on those projects. We have the basketball court repair. We've started receiving some competitive bids, and we didn't really like what those said, so we went out again to get some more in, so we received some more. One of the things that we did find out about the resurfacing of the court is temperatures have to be steady between 55 to 80 degrees. So we're hitting that mark almost, which is Yeah, exciting, I guess.
We'll be there soon enough.
I know. Yeah. So the volleyball sand replacement is another big item. Again, we've received bids on that, and we're working through those to find the most competitive approach to replacing the sand. We have two big projects at the pools at John Gaines and Ella Wooten. You might have noticed in the e-blast that went out or by walking by, you see crews there working. They have already started that work. So we're excited to have that happen now so that the pools will be ready with new things and resurfacing and they're smoother on the bottoms now. So we're excited to see those things take shape and hopefully there's no delays. So far we're on track, so excited about that. Some of the other things are the special project updates. A first topic near and dear to many of your guys' hearts is our off-leash dog park. As you have been reminded when Brian read his motion, is that the mixed use had a request of staff to get some more information for them so that they can make a better informed recommendation to the master board. So that will be on next month's agenda items, and we have that information and we're ready to share that. So that will be next month. See you all next month. Swim team, we have that pilot program. We have the user agreement is under review. We've received that back. That will also be coming next month, so that will be on the agenda as well. One thing to remember is these are pilot programs, so regardless, the swim team is already good to go. The off-leash dog has a little more conversation around it, but a pilot program is just that. You evaluate it for that period of time, and then you figure out what works best with it. So hold out hope. If you didn't get exactly what you wanted, there's still time that it might develop into something else. Landscape rehabilitation plan. This is going to work in tandem with the landscape transition plan that I just spoke about. And then some of the other big projects is we have the pavilion that's going to be transitioning to the POA. We want to do the updated neighborhood signage, so we need to understand what that cost looks like and if we need to present it at budget time and see where that falls in our priority list. And then, of course, our reporting and data metrics for everybody so that you can see what the work is that we're doing. Some operational updates. We have the Mueller Messenger. So the Mueller Messenger, you guys may be aware, is changing. We're upgrading from one MailChimp account to another MailChimp account that will provide more options for us. So there's more tools and gadgets behind that will provide a better user experience for you all. So some of those things that the new Messenger will have is we have the ability for private clubs or neighborhood clubs that aren't necessarily like committees or things like that, but clubs that you all have. You can advertise this. It's an easier way to calendar items as well so that you can be better informed about things that are going on. We also have the forms that are right there. You can click on forms, fill them out, submit them in that portal as well. We have some special working groups that we will be pulling together to help with some of this work that we have. As you can see, the strategic plan is big, so we need some special working groups to help with that. The neighborhood signage for dogs. We do have signs that will be coming soon. These dogs are meant to remind folks that there are specific areas in the neighborhood that are not meant for off-leash play. Even though it does look inviting, it is not allowed. And if you happen to be in an area where you see off-leash dogs and it presents a problem for you, I advise you to call 311. Animal control is the one that would come out and address that issue. So if you see something and you want to say something, 311 is the way to do that. The post-Arctic blast, this felt like so long ago now. We did have some impacts in the neighborhood. A few drinking fountains, a few toilets restrooms were affected and impacted. I think a few sinks as well. But they have all been addressed, and the Repairs are, I believe, about 80% complete, so we should have full functioning restrooms here soon, if they're not already. But at least there was one that was always working. So, and with that, I'm sorry, I have two more items. One of them, I did want to highlight real quick. A lot of folks are requesting that we provide information on special assessments as it relates to the hailstorm, especially for those that are trying to sell or buy into the neighborhood. And I just wanted to share that at this time we are unable to provide any information or what that loss assessment might be. The biggest reason for that is we're still in negotiations with our insurance provider, so we do not have a claim settlement yet. That largely impacts what that assessment looks like. Another reason is we are still evaluating the repair materials that will be selected. By design, we have a working group that is designed to help inform what those materials will look like. So again, that would impact what that cost would be. And so there's still a lot of things that are really, fluid and moving, and we don't have enough information yet to provide information for folks. And I know that it's very stressful and it's uneasy, and I hate that we don't have that information. But any information that we would give out right now would be irresponsible on our part, because it would not be true to what it should be. So we unfortunately don't have that information to give at this time. Just know we are continuously working, though, with our adjusters. The last update I had from them is that they feel confident that we should get something by the end of this month. I hate to say that because, I might just jinx it, but that's what they're telling us. As we find out information, we will share it back to you. We've also, in the background, have been shopping insurance to try and find better insurance policies for folks, and we have been successful in that. That information has gone out as well. So we are busy working in the background. Again, it's just not a lot of information that we can give around the special assessments itself. And then finally, my last announcement for tonight is just for everybody's awareness. I'm super excited to announce that Myrna Lincoln, who was our events manager, has been promoted to our events and engagement communication director. So in this role, she's going to continue what she was doing, but in a larger capacity and have more impact. So she's responsible for the rentals and communication, events, marketing, and the continued growth of the pavilion. It's really going to be highlighted as a premier community venue. In case you guys haven't met Myrna, she brings extensive experience in large-scale event management, budgeting, and community engagement, as well as 6 years, as a director of events with Jester King Brewery. So we're super excited that Myrna has advanced into her new role.
Thank you.
And with that, I'm done.
Board members, questions for the executive director?
Tricia, you mentioned that that there was a new insurance policy for the row homeowners that we had been able to secure. Do you
Yes.
want to highlight some of the
My goodness, yes.
the benefits of that new policy?
Yes, this new policy, what we were able to secure, provided a much less, a much lower deductible or out-of-pocket rate. So the old insurance that we had, we were at a 5%. It had gone up to 10%, which is what our responsibility to pay. The premium did not change, but it was still underfunding what our total coverage was and what we would need to replace. So the new insurance carrier that we have, it's a 3% deductible or 3% cost that we would have. They also have a much larger insurance policy, so it covers the whole building. If it was to burn to the ground, we would have enough money to rebuild in its entirety. And one of the most exciting things, other than the 3%, and we have full coverage, is that the premium is about $100,000. I think it's about $100,000 less than what we currently had. So, very exciting. Say we were a little skeptical. It went through several reviews before we finalized it. Excuse me, I don't know why my throat's so dry. So we really put it through the ringer to make sure that it was a good policy. So,
Thank you.
Board members, other questions? Yes, Jim?
Just another insurance question, only a different topic. One of the things tied with the swim team was the need for special events insurance, and I was wondering what the progress is procuring that.
we do have our policy for our general liability insurance. That is one of the coverages that we've asked for, and so they are including that in our policies. Our insurance provider, I wanted to get specifics for you for today's meeting, but he did not respond back to me, and he has an out of office on. So as soon as I get the details on that, I will let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? How many times have we used and I wanted to bring up in particular for board members, the new community recommendation policy, because it's fairly new. We didn't have it last year. Probably could have used it last year, but that was a learning. There were some learning opportunities last year, and now we're in better shape. But how often have we used it so far?
I've had a couple.
Okay.
Yeah. There's been 2.
Any challenges or any lessons learned so far in implementing it?
Not yet. I think that the information that was received is very. It comes across that there was a lot of intent put into it. There's a lot of purpose that was put into it. It's very well thought out. So that makes it easier to be evaluated when the boards get it and they want to consider it. It's easier for me to be able to discern what it is that they're wanting. It has what the issue is, the strategies, the goals, and then the outcome. So it's helpful in that regard as well.
Anyone else have any questions? All right. Thank you. All right. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. As you heard earlier during the executive director's presentation, the master board has created a couple of new ad hoc committees, and there are opportunities for mixed-use board representation on those committees, and we have a couple of board members who've kindly volunteered to take on additional work in serving on those boards. Let's see. Is there a motion to discuss approval of the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
All right, is there a second? Second. All righty. Discussion. Any questions or comments or thoughts about the appointments we'd be approving tonight?
Yes, I would like to hear a little bit more from Joe Freeland about what is this governance review ad hoc committee, because I understand you're leading that effort from the master board.
So the governance review ad hoc committee is intended to address the changes in our governing documents that are needed, particularly in the next year or so. That would include, first, changes to row home supplemental covenants to go back to the pre-2018 version, if that's the recommendation from row home committee, which I assume will be the recommendation from the initial recommendation from row home committee. The second batch of covenant changes that are needed are those that go back to the recommendations from the transition committee from whenever transition committee made those recommendations. And those were, first, a set of changes, we did an adoption of a proposal of new rules back in 2020. A lot of that rulemaking was either inconsistent or flatly contrary to language in the covenants. We made those rule recommendations with the assumption that we would get the covenants amended so that the rules would prevail. And so that's the second, that's one of the main parts of the second portion of the governance review, is to get the covenants changed to allow us to, actually really to give us greater flexibility on rules, but to allow the rules to be effective. And then there were a few other changes that the transition committee had made regarding governance, covenant changes that weren't the direct governance changes. We did get changes in the covenants to do away with neighborhood delegates, which changed the way we selected mixed-use board members. And so that part we got done. There were other parts that we didn't finish from the transition committee. We had comments from city staff on those, and that was sort of where that process died a couple of years ago. And so the hope is here we can get that group of covenant changes made. And the third is to have a committee together to be able to respond to covenant changes that may come from the declarant or from the city. It's our understanding the city and the declarant may have some other covenant changes they want made, and so we were going to be prepared to be able to respond to those. And I guess, you know, the reason to move forward sort of in a fairly quickly manner with these changes is, as long as the declarant is still in the development sales period, which could last until, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, December 31st, 2027. Actually, maybe December 20th. But as long as we're still in development sales period, the declarant can make changes to the covenants almost unilaterally. All it needs to have is the consent of the city of Austin, and it can change those governing documents. After the end of that period, then to change the governing documents is almost impossible. It would require a large percentage of consent from existing unit owners, which would be hard for us to get. So I don't know, that may have been too long of an explanation.
That's good.
I appreciate your explanation, Joe. That was really good. And I know, my understanding from you previously is also that this team that Chris and Amanda are being appointed to will also identify other potential changes. So there are some set things that we know, and there is some, you'll work with the committee to really outline the charter for what will be addressed.
We will do that. And the committee will also have two members from the mixed-use board and the ECTC board.
Great. It'd be good to have commercial representation.
It would be good.
Yeah.
Other questions regarding the consent agenda items?
I wanted to make a comment about the GIS project. It won't be as eloquent as Joe's, but I would say that there has long been a thought that with a neighborhood this big, with so many different areas, that we could benefit greatly by having a GIS system in order to locate all our assets and amenities and to associate documentation with that through a GIS. And so it came forward from the landscape committee, actually, with some funding. They wanted to be able to identify landscape assets and capital equipment related to irrigation and that kind of thing, trees even, you know. So there's a lot of interest in this, and we have received one proposal for it. I'm really glad Tim was interested and agreed to be on this, because when we worked on our strategic plan, Tim was the only board member who said, we need to make sure we have good, thorough documentation on all our assets and amenities. So I'm really glad that Tim is going to be on this group that will not be highly technical. We are just more or less a steering committee and make sure we're identifying our absolute needs and then selecting a vendor at some point to actually do the work. That's it. That's my spiel on that.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the appointments covered under the consent agenda?
I think we already had
We
the
had
motions.
Okay.
On the-
Now we can just go to the vote.
Okay. Those in favor of approving our appointments to the ad hoc committees listed on the consent agenda? There's a motion, and there's a second. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda appointments, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The consent agenda appointments are approved, and Kaz, Amanda, and Tim, I want to thank you in advance. You got the opportunity to do some wonderful work that we really need to have done. That concludes all of the items on this evening's agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
A motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any objections to adjourning the meeting? Hearing none, I'm going to assume that means it's unanimous. Look forward to seeing everybody on March the 9th. We'll be meeting over at Mueller Central, and the agenda isn't finalized, but it looks like we'll have a busy agenda. So, thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that was a short meeting, but Tricia did a great job of bringing us up to date. And we look forward to the next meeting and the work that our neighbors are doing on this board. Thank you, guys. Let's take it away.